Welcome to the deep dive. You've given us this great stack of sources, articles, research notes, and we're here to, well, dig into it all, extract the key insights, help you get a handle on things quickly. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something I think really vital for a lot of organizations: how to effectively report outcomes, specifically for child sponsorship programs. Our mission, really, is to cut through the noise, find those core nuggets from these sources, and figure out the best ways to genuinely show impact, build that crucial trust with donors, and keep them engaged with reporting that actually works, that lands. Okay, so let's really unpack the core of this. Why does this reporting matter so much?
Well, what these sources really hammer home right from the start is that these programs, child sponsorship programs, they don't just run on money. They fundamentally run on trust.
Right.
And that trust, it's built squarely on transparency. Donors give because they believe you can make a difference. They need to actually see that difference.
That really feels like the bedrock principle here. And it's not just a nice-to-have feeling, is it? These sources present clear, measurable outcome reports as, well, absolutely essential for keeping donor confidence and showing the real, tangible impact. It's like the bridge connecting the donation to the child's better life.
Exactly. And the sources, they point to a few main goals for doing this reporting effectively. First, showing that measurable impact, education, health, maybe even progress in the whole community.
Mm.
Second, it's about using the data you gather to actually make your programs better, to make sure you're being as effective as you possibly can be.
Okay, so continuous improvement built in.
And third, crucially, it's about keeping those donors connected, engaged, giving them regular, meaningful updates that, well, reinforce why they chose to support you in the first place.
So if that's the why, the big question becomes the what. What do you actually measure? Because these sources seem pretty clear that it's not just about throwing numbers out there.
No, definitely not. The real power, they argue, comes from combining that solid quantitative data, the numbers, with stories,
Mm.
compelling, meaningful stories. And when you look at the specific types of metrics, educational progress comes up again and again. Things like literacy rates, math skills, school attendance, dropout rates, those
Yeah.
are foundational.
Yeah, and the sources get quite specific here. They even suggest how often to measure things, like quarterly for literacy and math scores, monthly for attendance, maybe annually for the bigger picture stuff like graduation or moving on to higher education.
Right. It shows both the immediate progress and the lasting impact. There's a great example cited, Children International's academic reinforcement program. In 2022, it apparently had a 92% completion rate, and that was with over 20,000 children and youth involved.
Wow, 92%. That's a really concrete number. It's an output, I guess. But the outcome is implied better learning, better engagement, leading to that success.
Precise.
And beyond school, health is another big one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tracking things like vaccinations, growth milestones, whether kids can actually get healthcare when they need it.
Absolutely. And again, there's a clear data point in the sources for that. By the end of 2022, 84% of sponsored children and youth said they got the health care they needed. That speaks directly to access, which is a really vital outcome.
Okay. What strikes me, though, is the mention of psychosocial development metrics. That sounds, well, a lot harder to pin down than a vaccination shot.
It is. It definitely is. And the sources acknowledge that difficulty. These metrics are trying to capture things like emotional growth, social skills, self-confidence, how involved a child is in their community. They're harder to quantify, sure, but they offer critical insight into the child's overall well-being, which is what sponsorship ultimately aims for. You can't just ignore them because they're tricky.
Makes sense. And it's not just about the individual child either, is it? The sources seem to really zoom out sometimes, looking at the whole community.
Yeah, that's key. Recognizing that a child exists within a family, within a neighborhood. So reporting also needs to capture those broader improvements like access to clean water, maybe better infrastructure, new ways for families to earn income. The example of Plan International's work in Thailand is pretty striking here. Poverty rates in the areas they worked apparently dropped massively from over 65% back in the early 80s down to under 10% by 2018.
That's incredible.
And that happened alongside things like high primary school completion, 95%, and almost everyone getting safe drinking water. It shows a long-term systemic impact that goes way beyond just one child's metrics.
Those examples show the potential, right? The ideal. But then you see that statistic mentioned in the sources. Only 29% of nonprofits are actually measuring outcomes effectively, and just 18% provide real-time reporting. That gap seems huge between what's possible and what most are doing. Why do the sources suggest that gap is there?
Well, that gets us into the how. because it's hard. It takes real intention, it takes systems, it takes capacity. A lot of organizations are, understandably, so focused on just delivering the services, the outputs, that building these robust systems for tracking outcomes can feel like this extra resource-heavy thing they just aren't set up for.
Right.
It's a major challenge, and that's what these sources are trying to help with by offering a kind of roadmap.
Okay, because without measuring and reporting well, you're stuck in that 29%, maybe even lower. So how do the sources suggest bridging that gap? They lay out a pretty structured approach, don't they?
They do. It all starts at the foundation. You need reliable data.
Yeah.
So step one is all about data collection and validation. And there's a really crucial piece of advice right at the start from Colleen Kay, I believe. She says organizations need to formulate the questions first.
Yeah.
Before you even think about what metrics to track, figure out what you actually need to learn to make your programs better, to improve how you operate.
That kind of flips the usual way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Don't start with what data can we get. Start with what answers do we need?
Okay, so once you have the questions, then you look at your current data sources.
Exactly. Review what you have. Check for completeness, accuracy, alignment with those questions. You need clear data governance policies too.
Yeah.
How often is data updated? Who checks it? How do you protect privacy?
Right, the practical stuff.
And ideally, you want to build data collection into daily work.
Yeah.
Using digital tools can make it much less of a burden.
And there was a quote about focus, wasn't there? From Laura Mills.
Yes, that's vital. It's so tempting to try and measure everything, but her point was, if everything is important, nothing is important. You have to prioritize. Focus on the metrics that are truly meaningful, the ones directly linked to your mission.
That makes sense. Don't drown in data.
And the sources also mention using sampling smartly. You don't always need data from every single person if a well-chosen representative sample can give you the insights you need. Saves time, saves resources. Okay, so you've gathered good, validated data based on your key questions. Step 2 is analyzing and structuring the report. This is where you really define your KPIs, right? Your key performance indicators.
And the sources make a really helpful distinction here between outputs and outcomes. Outputs are like what happened, number of kids attending tutoring sessions, for example. Outcomes are what it means, did test scores improve, did their confidence grow?
Got it. And you need both.
Absolutely. You need both to tell the whole story.
And the structure of the report itself matters. The sources list typical sections, like an executive summary.
Yep, a concise summary right up front. Then some context about the organization. Then the main part, key activities and outcomes, mixing in those visuals and testimonials we talked about, and importantly, being transparent about any challenges faced and the financial details.
Visuals seem really critical here. Charts, graphs, makes the data easier to grasp, right?
Definitely. But the sources caution that visuals need to actually support the main points, not just be decoration.
Good point.
And always, always combine the numbers with those real-life examples. Make the data human.
Right. And before you even get to making it pretty, the data needs to be clean, right? Checking for duplicates, making sure it's consistent.
Whoa, absolutely crucial. Clean the data thoroughly first. The breakdown provided in the source table is helpful too. It shows, like, the executive summary needs the core metrics and highlights. The analysis section needs the deeper dive into quantitative results and trends. And then the stakeholder stories section is where you bring in those testimonials and case studies to show the human side of the impact.
And getting feedback on drafts seems like a good idea too. From staff, maybe the board.
Definitely. Internal feedback first, maybe even key stakeholders before it goes wide, catches things you might miss.
Okay, makes sense. And the final step in this process, creating actionable insights. This feels like where the rubber meets the road, making that explicit link.
Exactly. How did the inputs, the donor's money, your team's activities, actually lead to the outcomes, those changes in children's lives? This is where the analysis really pays off. And you need to tailor these insights. A board member might want different details than an individual donor, for instance.
So think about the audience.
Always. And highlight the most meaningful metrics, the ones that really shout life change.
And like you said earlier, tell the story behind the numbers. Why does that percentage jump matter? How does it compare? What does it mean for the future?
And that naturally leads into making actionable recommendations. What improvements can we make based on this? What strategic shifts are needed? Maybe resources need to be allocated differently.
And being honest about challenges, limitations, that actually builds credibility, doesn't it?
It really does. Transparency is key. And if possible, linking your outcomes to broader goals, like the UN Sustainable Development Goals, can show the bigger picture relevance of the work.
That whole process sounds, well, pretty rigorous, but necessary.
Yeah.
So once you have these well-crafted reports, data, stories, insights, how do the sources suggest you actually communicate this effectively to donors to build those strong relationships?
It really comes back to that blend we keep talking about. Storytelling plus transparent reporting. They work together. And visuals, as we touched on, are incredibly potent. The sources mention people remember information something like 6 times better if there's a visual element.
6 times. That's huge. So
Yeah.
you're using infographics for progress on, say, literacy or vaccinations.
Exactly. Or using authentic photos carefully with permission and good captions to show transformation. Keeping a consistent design across all your communications helps too. Makes it look professional and trustworthy.
And simplifying things, like maybe an infographic showing how a $50 donation breaks down.
Yeah, making complex financial info easy to understand visually is really powerful for transparency.
And alongside the visuals, the actual writing needs to be clear, simple, right? Focus squarely on impact.
Absolutely key, because donor feedback, cited in the sources, shows what they really want. 61% want personal stories, and almost 60% want that clear evidence of outcomes.
Singing both.
You really do. And connecting the update directly to their contribution makes it personal, thanks to your sponsorship, or because of your generosity, this happened. Using specific comparisons helps too. Saying attendance went from 60% to 95% is much clearer than just saying attendance improved.
And the tone matters. Meyer Partners advises keeping it respectful, honoring the people in the stories while still showing the program's impact and the donor's role.
And simple gratitude. Saying thank you often.
So keeping donors engaged isn't just about sending one report a year. It's ongoing.
Oh, definitely. It requires consistent relationship-focused communication, maybe tailor updates based on the donor. New donors might need program basics, while long-term supporters might appreciate deeper strategic insights.
Okay, and being transparent about how funds are used, maybe with a pie chart.
Yes, that builds confidence. And crucially, ask for feedback. Andrew Olson's quote calls donor surveys table stakes. You need to understand what motivates them, what information they find valuable.
Make it easy for them to give feedback too, right? Different channels.
Yes, multiple channels, maybe anonymous options too. And the most important part, actually act on the feedback. Analyze it, make changes, and then tell donors what you changed based on their input. That closes the loop.
And offer different ways to engage, not just asking for money all the time.
Exactly. Volunteering, events, maybe peer-to-peer fundraising, make them feel part of a community.
And just basic good manners, like acknowledging donations quickly within 24 or 48 hours.
Yes. Prompt acknowledgement, followed by those impact updates later. That MAP International Campaign example with Chantal is fantastic proof of this approach working. Using her story, strong visuals, they attracted nearly 9,000 new donors and increased active donors by 85%. It shows that combining that heartfelt story with clear results is just incredibly effective.
Yeah, that really drives it home. And all this talk, metrics, reports, stories, communications, it all seems to circle back to needing good, reliable data in the first place.
It absolutely does. The sources really underscore this. Data quality isn't just some admin task. It's fundamental for transparent reporting and ultimately for earning and keeping that donor trust.
And it's a struggle for many, apparently. That stat again,
Of course.
54% of organizations saying incomplete or inaccurate data is a major hurdle.
Which is exactly why maintaining data accuracy and privacy has to be a priority, not optional. You need to define what healthy data even means for your organization. Is it accurate, complete, consistent? Can you actually use it effectively?
Right.
That requires clear processes, regular checks, data cleanups, standardizing how data is entered, maybe using a data dictionary so everyone records addresses or abbreviations the same way that's vital.
Yeah.
And training staff not just on how to enter data, but why quality matters. That builds ownership.
And especially with children's data, privacy is non-negotiable.
Paramount. Ethical collection, informed consent, strong security like encryption and control access, regular staff training on privacy rules, audits to check compliance. It's all laid out as critical.
And giving donors control over their own information adds another layer of trust.
And that idea of using feedback for improvement, it's not just for donors. It applies to all stakeholders.
Right.
Targeted surveys, asking thoughtful questions, a mix of open-ended and specific ones, making it easy to provide feedback. And again, the key is analyzing it, acting on it, and communicating back what you've done.
This seems like an area where technology could really help, couldn't it? Lift some of the burden.
Oh, definitely. The sources point this out clearly. While many nonprofits use general CRM software, about 67%, apparently specialized tools can be a real game changer, particularly for something as complex as child sponsorship.
Right, because it has unique needs.
Exactly. The right tech can automate a lot, streamline data collection, make reporting much less time-consuming. When choosing software, the sources mention looking for things like customization options, scalability as you grow, good support, and whether it integrates well with other tools you use.
And Help You Sponsor gets mentioned specifically as a platform built for these unique child sponsorship needs, helping automate tasks, track progress carefully, simplify donor communication.
Yes, and there's that strong quote from Amanda Jones at Accordus praising both the platform itself and the support they received. That kind of peer endorsement is valuable. The mention of flexible pricing, even a free plan for smaller orgs, suggests these powerful tools are becoming more reachable too.
And the ultimate goal, it seems, is freeing up people's time and energy.
Precisely. As one source puts it so well, every minute spent on administration is a minute not spent changing lives. Technology should help organizations focus more on that core mission.
Yeah. Better data, better processes, better reporting. It's not just about looking good. It's about maximizing the actual impact by using resources effectively and
Yes.
keeping that community of support strong and informed.
Well said.
Okay, so if we try to really boil down everything we've deep dived into from these sources, effective outcome reporting for child sponsorship, what are the absolute must-haves, the core elements?
I think it comes down to maybe 4 key pillars we've hit on repeatedly. First, pairing those measurable metrics with compelling personal stories. You need both. Second, building consistent, reliable systems for your data, collecting it, analyzing it.
Right, the foundation.
Third, communicating transparently and relationally,
Yeah.
especially with donors, but with all stakeholders. And fourth, a real commitment to continuous improvement,
Yeah.
using the data, using the feedback to get better.
And transparency really is the cornerstone, isn't it? Like that social work portal, quote, emphasizes building trust,
Yeah.
which includes being open about the bumps in the road, the challenges, not just the wins.
Absolutely. And technology, especially those specialized platforms, can be a huge enabler for all of this, making the complex work of managing data and reporting just more efficient, more accurate.
So based on all this knowledge we've pulled from the sources, what are some concrete next steps? If an organization listening wants to improve their outcome reporting, where should they start?
Well, a really foundational step is to standardize those systems for collecting data, storing it, analyzing it. Get your data house in order first.
Okay, and maybe actively start gathering that feedback from donors. Ask them what they want to know, how they want to hear it.
Definitely. Use their input to shape your communication, your content.
And if manual processes are really bogging things down, maybe seriously consider specialized technology. Look into options like Help You Sponsor.
Yeah, investigate if the right tool could make a significant difference.
And focusing on making the reporting feel personal, relevant to the donor. That seems key for engagement.
The more it connects to them, the more likely they are to stay involved and inspired.
And maybe the key is not trying to boil the ocean. Start small.
Exactly. Don't feel you have to fix everything at once. Pick one area, maybe improve data collection for one specific program, or just work on making one key report more visual and story-driven. Build momentum from there.
This has been a really, really insightful deep dive. We've certainly covered a lot of ground pulling from these sources on outcome reporting. Hopefully some genuinely valuable insights for you listening.
Yeah, it really highlights, I think, this ongoing challenge for these organizations. It's beautifully complex, isn't it? How do you balance that absolute need for rigorous, quantifiable data, to prove impact, build trust, with capturing the really deep, personal, often intangible transformation that happens in a child's life? The real art seems to be not just presenting numbers or stories, but finding truly authentic ways to weave them together. So the statistics show the scale, but the stories reveal the profound human change underneath. That's what truly inspires, I think, continued support, not just for a program, but for the individual lives being changed.
That's a really powerful thought to end on. Thank you for bringing us these sources and letting us deep dive into them with you today.